Hi, I'm Kevin. We're here today to show you a quick, simple, easy meal. Something that's really good for college students, but everyday families can have it. It's, like I say, quick, simple, and not expensive at all. The ingredients that we're going to be using making this are going to be onions and peppers, which I've already cut. That's about a little bit better than a medium-sized onion, and about a half a pepper. You can put more or less in as you want. I've got broccoli over here because we like broccoli in it. With vegetables, you could put carrots, broccoli, basically anything that you're comfortable with putting in there. We put corn in there before, we put tomatoes in there before. We have beef here. Again, with the meat, it's something that you can use pork, you can use chicken, you can use sausages, you can use kielbasa. There's all kinds of different meats. It's whatever you like. And basically, here's the main ingredient, the ramen noodle soup. A lot of different brands out there. It really doesn't matter which kind you use. They're pretty much all the same. As you can see, we have pork and beef. You can mix and match. It really doesn't matter. The flavor is really going to come out once we start cooking. All this is going to be combined, and basically it's going to be somewhat of a stir fry, which is pretty good. Okay. I'll show you what we're going to start with. What I like to do first is I like using a gas stove. You can use an electric stove, doesn't really matter. We have a wok. You don't necessarily need a wok. You can use a good old cast iron frying pan. You can use any kind of frying pan you want. As long as it cooks everything the way it's supposed to be cooked, that's all that matters. I like this pan because it's nice and big. I can cook everything in it, and I can stir everything in at the same time. Okay, so what we're going to do first, I'm going to put a little bit of oil. We're just using regular vegetable oil. You can use, if you want, any kind of canola. You can use, virgin olive oil. There's a lot of different ones. I'm going to go ahead and set the heat on right now. I'm going to put this on about 6, which is a little bit better in a medium flame. Alright, first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead swirl that oil around in my wok pan a little bit, just so I can get a little bit of going in there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to combine all the vegetables. Doesn't matter if you do it this way, they all cook the same. You can cook them separate if you want. Me, I like to save time, so I don't mess with it. Now, while that's cooking, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open all these packets of noodles, and I'm going to put them in the strainer. That way, I don't have to mess with it more than once. And I'm going to get a knife because I usually have an issue with this. Alright, so I'm going to crack open all the noodles. We've got 5 packs because we're making a little bit more. You can make less, you can make more. It just depends on how hungry you are and how much food that you want to eat. Okay, I'm going to get rid of all my garbage real quick. This aside. As you can see, my vegetables are starting to cook. I like to get them all swirled in the oil quite a bit. And you also notice that it's a nice color with the green and the reds and the white of the onion. Again, you can use green onion, you can use yellow, white onion. I'm using just a basic yellow onion right now. While that's cooking, I'm going to take the meat. I'm going to take a couple packs of the flavoring. Now you can take more than 2 if you want. I'm just going to use 2. I like to take it, I like to put it in the meat, and I like to just mix it up. You can use a spoon or a fork. I'm kind of hands-on person. I like mixing it up with my hands. That gets that flavor on the meat, and actually it helps it when it's cooking soften it up. So it tenderizes it, does a pretty good job. We're just going to put that over to the side right now. I've got these 3 other packs that we'll use a little bit later. And we're going to let everything cook for a few minutes.
Go.
Okay, with the vegetables, we're still cooking them. I like putting just a little salt and pepper. It doesn't matter, it's a personal touch. You know, if you like that, that's fine. I like my vegetables, my onions to be a little see-through, my vegetables to be done, but not too soft. I still like them a little chewy. And as you can see, we're almost to that point where I'm going to take the vegetables out, put them in a bowl, and put the meat in and let the meat cook. And we'll be back in just a second when we're done with the veggies. Okay, our vegetables are just about done. While we've been cooking them, we've also put some water on to start boiling. This is for the noodles. We'll get to that point in just a minute. What I'm going to do is, the way we like our vegetables now, the onions are a little bit see-through. Everything is tender but not too overcooked. We like ours a little crisp, little chewy. The vegetables is all personal choice and how you like them cooked. Now I'm going to put these in a bowl. I'm going to set them off to the side. That meat that I put a couple packets of the soup seasoning on, I'm going to go ahead and put that in there now. And we're going to go ahead and let this meat brown. I'm going to put it in a pan. I'm going to stir it up just a little bit. And what you want this meat to be browned and cooked nice and all the way through, whichever meat you choose to have. Definitely you don't want raw meat. But we're going to let this cook. It's probably going to take, say 7-8 minutes maybe for this meat to cook all the way through. And when it's ready, we'll come right back.
Go.
You'll notice that the meat's almost done. It's been about 6-7 minutes. The meat looks really good. It's brown. But something I want you to notice. At the bottom, that's the juice from the meat. You want to keep that in the pan. That's going to help mix everything with the noodles. I didn't put any oil in when I put the meat in. I just threw it right in onto the hot pan. That way it cooks really good, softens the meat, and you get that juice up at the bottom of it, which is really good for mixing in with the noodles. And that'll come into play in just a minute. So what we're going to do with this meat right now is we're going to go ahead, since I pretty much think it's done. I don't see any pink in there. I'll ask the camera person, you see any undone meat in there?
Nope.
Excellent. So what we're going to do, we're going to put this off to the side, or actually I can just turn the heat off right here. We're going to let that meat sit. Now what we're going to do is we are going to cook the noodles. Now this is really important to the meal. I have the noodles just like this. It doesn't matter how you cook them or how you like to cook them. I don't break them up. I like keeping them whole. That way when they cook, they're long and they're kind of a nice meal setting when you cook them like that. I'm going to put them in here. You don't want to cook the noodles like you do when they're soup till they're soft. You only want them to cook for probably about, say, 2 minutes. You're going to have to get used to it. You're going to have to kind of touchy-feely your way on that. But once you get it in the water, let them stay in there maybe 2 minutes until they're just soft, because they're going to continue cooking when you put them in with everything else. Okay, so here we go. We're going to go put the noodles in. And we will be right back with you when the noodles are done cooking. So far so good. Okay, it's been just a couple minutes. The noodles are just about there, how we like them. I'm going to bring them over here. I'm going to drain them in a strainer. I'm going to put that hot pan back on the stove so we don't get ourselves burnt. And this is where everything comes in. This is where you start adding it all together. You can see that the noodles are hot. They're nice, they're good. What I like doing is I'll bring it back over here. I'm going to turn my fire on, but I'm going to turn it on a little bit lower. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add those vegetables that we cooked earlier, and I'm going to put them in here now. And now I'm going to put in all the noodles. all at one time. Don't worry about it. It'll all mix out the same.
How do you know if the noodles
Now
are ready?
this is something that you want to make sure you do. Always spray just a little bit of this in there. And the reason I do that is because it keeps the noodles separated. Because you know noodles can get stuck together no matter how you cook. Now what I want to do is I want to mix this up and start it right now. You can see those noodles are not quite done like you would have for a soup. They're still just a little bit harder, but they're soft. Tastes pretty good. You want to mix it all in together, and then this is what sets the meal off. This is what really is going to make this meal great. You want to take the last 3 packs that you had of the soup stock, and you just want to pour them in. Doesn't matter how you pour them in, as long as you get them all in there. And what we're going to do, we're going to mix them all in there really well. You can see that I've got the juice coming up from the bottom, from the meat. You can see the vegetables are coming in. It's a little bit messy when you're mixing, but this is a good, easy way to do it. You can turn it, you can mix it however you want to do it. But what you really want to do, you see that brown right there, that is your flavor from them packets. You know, it might take you, whoop, a little messy there, that's all right. It might take you 4 or 5 minutes to do it right. But once this is all mixed up, you got your meat, you got your vegetables, you got it all mixed up, and you've done a good job. It's a real quick, easy, good meal. You can feed, depends on how many people you want to cook for. You want to cook for 20, you got a big enough pan, you can do it. You want to cook for 2, you can do it. Okay, you can see that I'm stirring it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a spoon and a fork and I'm going to kind of fluff it up a little bit, stir it up a little bit more. Sometimes that's a little bit easier, a little bit less messy. It's whatever's easier for you. And then, basically, once you get everything mixed up, you have a pretty good, very tasty hot meal. It didn't take too long. I mean, initial processing took me probably maybe 10-15 minutes to cut up all the vegetables, to cut up the meat, to get everything ready. To cook it, you're looking at under a half hour to get the whole thing put together and cooked. So really, you're talking a meal in about an hour or less that you can throw together at any time. It's not really expensive. It's only as expensive as you want to make it. It tastes great. I guarantee you, if you like the ramen soups, if you like any of those noodle soups, you'll love this. Go down and get a little bit of pork. You know, pork is always good and cheap. Cut it up any size you want, small or large, and then you eat. And basically, what you want to do is, for serving, pretty simple. You just want to serve it up, put it on a plate like that. You can add a little cilantro if you want. You can put bread or rolls with it, any kind of other vegetable. If you want to put corn or something as a side dish, that's wonderful. And you're ready to eat. And that's how you finish this meal and get it done. And it's, like I say, really tasty, really good. And I hope you enjoyed it as much as me and my family does.